Hi, I'm Tom, and I've never seen the Titanic, but I have seen The Room at least 3 times.
And I'm Sean, and I think Forrest Gump is fine. There, I said it.
And this is Flix and Flops, the podcast where we watch movies, talk nonsense.
And pretend to know what we're doing.
Grab your snacks, lower your expectations, and let's ruin some cinema together.
Because nothing says film analysis like two friends arguing over whether Nicolas Cage is a genius or just bored.
All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of Flicks and Flops. Sean and I went to see the new movie One Battle After Another the other day at our classic movie theater hangout of Chunkies. Sean, what were your just immediate thoughts on the movie?
So for one thing, we showed up earlier than we usually do. We actually got to watch some of the previews. Chunky's may be the only movie theater on planet Earth. When they say a movie's going to start at a certain time, it starts at that time or before that time. So it was kind of good to, be right there for the beginning of it. Not that we aren't, but we were really thrown right into it. But my immediate thought, and a thought that stuck with me throughout the entire movie, is what the fuck am I watching? But in the best way possible. Like, they call certain filmmakers auteurs, like, their style, like, immediately. And no one do feel that more than with Paul Thomas Anderson. Like, PTA is just his movies are an experience, and I immediately was like, whoa, like we are in for something special. Like, just, but very, like, they really, I feel like we've been seeing a lot of movies lately where we're thrown right into the action. I'm like, whoa, like this movie really did that.
This movie was just so bizarre to me, and it's like it definitely has that kind of style to it. But the first act of the movie, I literally have it in my notes, is that everyone is crazy horny in the first act, and it's really just so strange because you have the whole plot revolves around Leonardo DiCaprio's character is going around. He's part of this anti-government, a revolutionary kind of person, and take down the regime. Really, like an anarchist. So they're going around and they're trying to blow up government buildings. And his girlfriend ends up having a kid with someone else who's in the military. And that person is like the whole movie. They're trying to hunt down the child. The person who the child belongs to is what was Colonel Lockjaw, which was kind of a badass name in all honesty. But the first act of the movie, just everyone telling people to get it up, and just everybody's having sex, and it was the most bizarre thing where it'd go from explosion, bombing government buildings, phone call of domestic terrorism, to then back to having more sex. And it was just it's like, that episode of It's Always Sunny where they're talking about making the movie, and they're like, oh, it's crime, it's this, it's back to this, crime, this.
Yeah, yeah.
It felt exactly like that. I was like, what is going on here?
Yeah, well, I mean, for one thing, everyone in this movie just has like the most insane names. Like, literally, Tiana Taylor's character her name is literally Perfidia Beverly Hills. You got Stephen Lockjaw, or some of the other weird names. Sergio St. Carlos was Benicio del Toro's character. The whole movie was just very out there. A lot of interesting metaphors. Something I found out after we left is I didn't realize the movie was actually based on a book. Now it was very loosely based on this book, but when I found out about it, it made sense to me because the whole movie is very based in counterculture. I mean, obviously, when you hear the word counterculture, you think of like the 60s, 70s, maybe even a little bit of the 80s, right? And I mean, it still exists today. We just view it kind of in a different form. Um, but what was interesting is that the book that the movie was based on takes place in the year of Ronald Reagan's election year, re-election year in 1984. And obviously, at that time, you're dealing with a lot of different issues. You kind of have the AIDS crisis looming in the background. You got the war on drugs. People are still, there's still plenty of racial tensions, etc. And, a big part of the movie is obviously the revolutionary group that Leonardo DiCaprio and Tiana Taylor's characters are in is far left. And then the Christmas Adventurers Club, which Sean Penn's Colonel Lockjaw joins, is far right, but the movie is never like heavy-handed. Like you never hear the words far left or far right, but you see a lot of interesting kind of allusions to like kind of what's going on in the world today in like kind of the most like extreme ways possible. But because another thing with the movie too is that you never get a sense of what year it is either. Like the book obviously takes place in 1984, and I mean the movie takes a lot of liberties from what I could tell. I mean, I'd be shocked if it didn't. I mean, this movie was all over the place. I don't even know how someone could come up with this that isn't Paul Thomas Anderson. But yeah, just very, very out there. It kind of. I didn't really start to get where we were going with it until maybe about 2/3 in, just because it's balls to the wall. I mean, we went from a movie, Warfare, where they were all about the slow pacing, really showing you kind of like the beats of war. And this movie could not be more different. I mean, I don't know how you feel, but I was like, other than this like stretch of maybe like 20, 30-ish minutes where it kind of slowed down, this movie, for an 162-minute movie, was fucking all over the place.
It felt like tonally it didn't know what it was trying to go for. Like there was a lot of it that felt really fast paced, and it kind of parts made sense when they were fast paced. But it doesn't give you that minute to stop and really reflect on what is going on because it's so fast. That like things like all of a sudden when they're having Colonel Lockjaw is trying to bring some flowers over, it's so unsettling. When she leaves, the movie just goes like this, like rapid, 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 rapid. And you don't get that chance to really like sit and think about what's been going on. And it at times it's almost a little too heavy-handed with how
Mm-hmm.
like how evil the Christmas Adventures Club is. It's almost like cartoonishly evil because they have it where they're like, I get it. Paul Thomas Anderson wants you to know that they're the bad guys.
Are we the baddies?
But it's like so over the top where they're using key terms that are very, very heavily handed of being racist. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
not they're not shy about that at all. But you're like, okay, I get it. I get that they're the bad guys. You don't have to kind of beat me over the head with it. Like I think it would have been a little bit better if they had been like, oh, these guys seem off, but I can't place why. I know they're bad. They're talking about things that are bad, but there's something about them that like they have some secret motive other than they're just scummy people. I think that would
Mm-hmm.
have made for a more interesting dynamic rather than this like whole using like all these terminologies that are very key coded to being racist. But I think it had some really interesting parts to it in general, though. Of like, I loved some of the tonal shifts that worked really well. Where like when Leonardo DiCaprio's rushing around and he's trying to find a charger for his phone, there's a great bit when he finally charges his phone. He's trying to call the revolutionary. They were the French 75. Is that what it was?
Yeah, the French 75. Yeah.
So he's calling them, and there's like key terms, and it's been almost 15 years since he's really been involved like in the revolution. So he's trying to figure out a rendezvous point, and they're like, "Okay, well, what time is it?" And that's like a code for them. And he's like, "I don't know. I've been frying my brain. I've been getting stoned and drinking for 15 years. I don't remember any of this." And it's like a great scene of back and forth, just him on the phone where the guy's like, I can't give you the information. I can't tell you where the rendezvous point is because you're not telling me the code. And he's like, I can't do any of this spy shit. Like that, I think worked really well to break
Mm-hmm.
up the kind of like super serious of like, oh, the US government troops are coming in and they're breaking down these doors and they're looking for people. But like At times, it almost felt a little too whimsical of how things would work. Like, there's that scene where Leonardo DiCaprio gets arrested when he's trying to run away. He falls down 40 feet, doesn't get hurt at all somehow from it. The laws of physics do not apply in this movie. But, like,
No.
he falls down 40 feet, he gets tased and arrested. Then the woman at the counter is like, oh, go see the doctor. Wink, wink. And it turns out, like, she's in on the revolution, too. The doctor's in on the revolution at this, like, police station. So it almost felt just like things kind of just worked a little too easily for his character at times. And especially that, like, there were parts of the movie that I think could have been taken out. Like, when Leonardo DiCaprio's daughter, right, is sitting there and she's taken in by this bounty hunter. I think the parts where she's, like, trying to drive away and do all the, like, I think the parts with the bounty hunter probably could have been taken out because it didn't really add much to the movie. You know what I mean? Like, there's a whole scene of a bounty hunter brings the daughter over to another group of bounty hunters because his motto is he's like, I don't kill kids, but this other group will. And then he just decides after dropping her off there, he's like, no, I'm going to kill these guys. He kills all of them, and then he dies too. Now Leonardo DiCaprio's daughter takes the gun, takes the car, and drives away. And it's like, it didn't really do much for the rest of the movie, so it would have been better, I think, if there was a different way that she kind of gets out of that situation rather than introducing this kind of useless quick subplot.
Yeah, I mean, I can see both sides of the coin in regards to that. I mean, like, I thought some of the, like, really out there scenarios where they're clearly, you know, pushing the theme. I mean, the whole theme of the movie, I mean, is really just like the battle of, it's just a really, you're in a heightened reality, right, in this movie. Like, the way that Lockjaw survives, literally, not only, like, crashing a car in, like, epic fashion, but quite literally being shot in the face by a shotgun while driving at, like, 90 miles an hour and crashing, how he somehow survives, you know, ends up dying, being gassed to death and cremated. I mean, the irony of trying to join, like, the Justice League of the KKK, the Christmas Adventurers Club, which, by the way, their motto or, like, catchphrase or whatever they say to each other is "Hail Saint Nick." Like, I just love that, like, they went so, what do you call it, tongue-in-cheek, instead of, like, being like, Hail Saint, they're like, Hail Saint Nick, like, because, you know, because Christmas and whatnot. It's just, I don't know, some of that stuff really hits for me, but I can see both ends where I could see why someone would think some of it was shallow, or some of it could have been explored more. At the same time, the way that PTA operates, he kind of wants the audience to think more of it. Like, he's not trying to... I agree with you. Some of it was heavy-handed, and they were, like, really feeding it to you in a way where it's like, this is what's going on. But some of it really left a lot of room for interpretation. Like, for example, Benicio del Toro's character. The whole time I'm thinking, like, is he part of the French 75? Is he not part of the French 75? Like, because he clearly had involvement with getting him out of the hospital, because, I mean, he was right there to pick him up. I said to you, one of the first things I said when we exited the movie theater, and funny enough, Benicio del Toro was in a movie made by this director earlier this year where I felt a lot of his segments kind of felt like it. While this movie was very PTA, like Paul Thomas Anderson, it very much felt like he was going in a lot of, like, Wes Anderson directions at time, more so than some of his other movies. But I don't know. I mean, it's one of those movies, I also said this to you, that I need to watch again now that I'm not in the moment. It's like a, what the fuck am I watching?
There are some scenes in there that very much feel like they're influenced by Wes Anderson. There's a great shot of Colonel Lockjaw walking down a set of stairs, and it has that feel where it's zooming in on him while he's walking down the stairs, and it's framed in just the same kind of way that Wes Anderson would have done something like that, which
Mm-hmm.
felt a little bit out of place in that movie. I love those kind of shots. I love a unique look on things, but it just didn't fit with the tone of the movie. And I feel like one of the biggest gripes I have with the movie is that the ending in tonality does not work with the rest of the movie. The rest of the movie is very serious, it's very dour, and it's not afraid to get into like the nitty-gritty and real life stuff. Whereas the ending of the movie, they build up this whole plot of, you know, both Leonardo DiCaprio and his daughter have these little like beepers that whenever they're within 100 yards of each other, it makes a noise, and then they know that they're together. And they had always hammered home to Leonardo DiCaprio and his daughter that it's like, hey, you have to know the set of code words. Only trust people when they can repeat the code words back to you and like the phrases back to you. Trust them with your life. If they don't know the code, do not trust them. At the end of the movie, Leonardo DiCaprio's daughter is like, she just killed the guy who was going to kill her. So Leonardo DiCaprio shows up and he's got the little pager thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she's saying like, oh, okay, she's reciting the code over to him. And he looks at her and he's like, baby, I don't know the code. Like, it's been so long, I don't know what it is. But she still trusts him. And then she sees that it's her dad, and she's like, okay, I'll give you a big hug. And then the end of the movie, it's like, they're happy, she's a revolutionary person now, she's going out and bombing places, and Leonardo DiCaprio's taking selfies. And it's like, I think it would have worked so much better if the movie really leaned into the dark aspect. And it's like, she's asking for the code, she's like reciting the phrase, and she just blindly starts shooting when he's like, I don't know what it is. And then she kills him, and then she goes over, finds out it's her dad, and she's distraught. Like, I think that would have been a more complete ending in terms of tonality. And also, like, Paul Thomas Anderson loves to give his villains the most atrocious looking haircuts you've ever seen in your entire life. I don't even know how to describe, but he puts his hair like all the way down front, and he's got like 4 like strands of hair. It was the weirdest thing. And so anytime you're watching one of those movies, if someone asks who's the villain, just say the guy with the shitty ass haircut.
Literally, that scene where they're when he's first going to meet the Christmas Adventurers Club, and he like pulls the comb out to like the last like 4 or 5 strands of hair that are like struggling for life on his head. Tommy, you didn't even like, you said to me you didn't even recognize that was Sean Penn at first. That's how different he looks. I don't blame you. If I didn't know going into that movie that Sean Penn was the villain, I would have been like, what the fuck? Like, he was so unrecognizable in parts, like in a good way.
But you know what?
I feel like he
played
owned
a
it.
great villain.
Yeah,
he was a fantastic villain. He really built up that whole energy of like that despicable kind of person, and I love that you could tell the internal struggle that he has within himself. Of like early on in the movie, he's like, "Oh, I shouldn't be in love with a woman of a different race," and it's like this whole struggle that he has within himself.
mm-hmm.
And I do love that kind of metaphor too, of being like, you know, they're all these awful people, and they're just trying to keep their dirty little secrets to themselves. And I love the way they did that, where it'd be like, oh, everyone in the Christmas Adventure Club is talking, being like, well, he has a kid that's, you know, not entirely white, and they're all like, ugh. It's like that over the top aspect where it's like, I like that they tried to make you feel uncomfortable with it, because there are people like that. So I like that they're like, hey, there are people like this, and you should feel uncomfortable knowing that there are people like this,
Mm-hmm.
and the powerful positions that they might hold. Like, all of them seem to be big players in the military or the government. Like, it was hinted that they play a very big role in some way in like a government aspect. So I like that layer they had of it. Some of it was a little too much. Like, there's a scene where one of the guys they have a secret underground layer, which felt so out of left field. And one of the guys knocks on the door, and I shit you not, he knocks jingle bells to get in. And it's like, sometimes I like that, where it's like the evil guys are using like something so innocent and innocuous that it's like, it becomes more unsettling. But it just was like, okay, I know they're the Christmas Adventures Club. I know they're saying Hail Saint Nick. Now you're knocking jingle bells on the door, and I'm like, all right, like your point has been made very abundantly. But I mean, even Sean and I looked at each other because at one point in the movie, they start playing "I'm a Fool to Do Your Dirty Work," and we're both just looking at each other like, oh, it's like The Sopranos. Like,
I'm a fool to do your dirty work. Go, yeah. I don't want to do your dirty work no more.
I can't help it because that's become such a big thing now for me that, like, after Sean turned me on to The Sopranos, I just see that in everything at this point.
Oh yeah, I mean, and you got the context they use that song in this movie is fucking crazy because Leonardo DiCaprio is literally about to go talk to, like, I don't know, the guidance counselor or like teacher Perfidia, not Perfidia, sorry, of Charlene was the daughter's name, Willa and Charlene. Leonardo DiCaprio and the daughter have two names in the movie because they basically had to go into like French 75 witness protection program type shit because Sean Penn, Lockjaw, went scorched earth, and Tiana Taylor's character, Perfidia, basically ratted on all her friends because... So it's interesting, like, kind of the moments... One thing that I'm thinking of now that I'm talking about is that a lot of characters in the movie have that sort of can't turn back moment. Like, for Tiana Taylor's character, they're doing that, their standard, like, robbery, terrorism shit, but, like, not, you know, or counterculture, whatever you want to call it, revolution. But they don't usually go out of their way to kill people, but this time, this guy wasn't cooperating, and she shot him, and it kind of creates, like, this domino effect of, like, by doing that, she essentially doomed herself and the French 75 because the only way out, she, you know, was selfish and valued herself at that time because, you know, she thought she was God's gift to the revolution. Her character only says it like 10 million times, like every other line, which, don't get me wrong, I mean, she pretty much was. But that's kind of the moment where it really sets a lot of the action in. For Sean Penn, that kind of moment is really how he acts after that sort of thing. Leo, it's kind of, you know, the decision to become this, like, paranoid druggy junkie and, like, have, like, barely any semblance of a life, super paranoid, overprotective of Willa, etc., right? And to go back to what you're saying about the ending of the movie. Now, I've made my peace with the ending of the movie. I get the concept of kind of having this, like, funny death for Lockjaw, the irony of the death. And by the way, Tony Goldwyn, as the main leader of the Christmas Adventurers Club, he played, like, that kind of charmingly evil so good. Love that guy. Super underrated actor. But I digress. Like, you kind of see these characters all have these moments. You know, I'm glad that they kind of got a happy ending. But when we were watching that scene of, like, Willa barely escapes... when they're in that lair, they, like, get this, like, innocuous guy who looks like he's at the country club. They're like, oh yeah, you're our assassin, you're gonna kill Lockjaw and them, no witnesses, yada yada. She, like, pulls off this crazy escape. Oh my god, that scene was, like, so well shot. We didn't even talk about that, the car chase. I mean, granted, the way to get to that car chase, to circle back to the whole random mercenary thing, I think that was kind of taking the racial war theme to an extreme. Like, you have this Native American dude who's just fucking had enough, like, with the racism of Lockjaw, and then these fucking mercenaries, and then they both end up killing each other, which I think is kind of it's clever, but it is kind of a heavy-handed way of being like, you know, at the end of the day, if you go against each other, you know, just everyone just dies in the end, right? But I kind of was expecting Willa to have that crash out moment where after she kills this guy, after she pulls off the crash in the car chase, I'm with you. I thought she was going to shoot Leo's character right there, and the movie ends there. And that's kind of, you know, the apex of, yeah, this movie was fun and quirky, but also, like, really dark and not afraid to go to those places. I'm fine with the ending. Like, and I know Tom and I have been pretty critical this entire time, but I think we both really enjoyed this movie. Like, I really like this movie, and I'd like to think you did too. But at the same time, I think for the length of it, I think they could have landed it better. That's really of the heavy-handedness and the way that the ending was handled are really my main qualms with the movie, I would say.
I mean, I would agree with you. I think the biggest thing that I've been struggling with after seeing the movie is people have been asking me, like, what did you think? And I kind of have this moment where I'm like, I don't know who to recommend it to because it's so niche and so specific. And for me, it's like, I'm kind of teetering on the edge where it's like, I'm at that middle point of like, I thought it was okay. Too much heavy-handedness for me kind of takes it down from what I thought would have been a really overall great movie. And I think the tonality shifts that feel like contrary to each other and keep kind of butting heads also brings it down for me. So I'm kind of at that point where I'm like, it's an okay movie, but you have to know what kind of movies people like before you can even begin to recommend it to somebody. So when people ask me, like, well, what kind of movies do you like? Because if you're looking for that lighthearted kind of fun movie, you're not going to like that. If you don't like if you don't like movies that have a bigger message to them and are kind of over the top with it too and a little heavy handed, you're also not going to like that then. So it's like if it hits that very niche group, so it's hard to really pinpoint exactly where I'd say, yeah, go watch this. It feels more of like, you can go watch it, but know that it's not something that you're gonna leave the theater going, I felt great having watched what I just watched. But I will say, bonus points, they did one of my all-time favorite things, which is say the name of the movie in the movie. And Sean and I immediately turned to each other. We're like, absolute cinema. Like, I don't know. The more I think about it, the more I'm like, it's hard for me to openly recommend the movie to people because I'm like, I can't give it a great rating. It's more of just like that kind of, it was good, but there are too many parts of it that kind of fought itself the entire movie. But that car chase scene was really well done. Like, credit to that, Paul Thomas Anderson knows how to make great looking shots. And that car chase scene in this movie was just so well done. I like the point of view from the cars where it's a great scene. They're going up and over these hills. And it almost feels like it's like you're watching them go over waves in a sense, because it's a rolling hills that they're going up and down. And it's like you see the cars go down and then they come back up, and then they're like eye level with each other, and then they're back down. And they're keeping this kind of like pace like this while one's going up, they're both going up, they're going down, they're up, they're down. Like, I thought that was really cool. And he avoided doing that whole shot too of like from the tire kind of perspective, which I don't love shots like that, but I love the point of view of the car, like the driver. It felt like you were the one in the car. And then having it where it'd be a nice long shot too, where you can see how the cars look too, where it's like up and down, like a roller coaster almost. Like, and the tension in that scene was really well done, along with a lot of the music in the movie too. I like the way they had it where like the music was in the background, but it wasn't ever anything where it's like loud and in your face. It's mostly just like piano and drums, and it's like very offbeat too, to give you that sense of uncomfort. Like, I think something like that adds in, like using music in that kind of way adds into the movie. But overall, the way I look at it, it's just it fought too much within itself for me to feel like it was a great movie.
Yeah, I mean, this is an interesting. We've finally reached an interesting part of Flix and Flops where Tom and I actually have different opinions of this movie. Believe it or not, it's possible for us to be great friends and have different opinions. Because I will say one thing. I think this movie was very tonally comparable to No Country for Old Men. Honestly, see, it was very PTA in ways, because, I mean, a lot of his movies end in kind of bizarre ways. I mean, the ending of There Will Be Blood, where, like, he literally just fucking kills Paul Dano like in the church, in the bowling alley, like in the church or whatever, and just celebrates. Like, he's not afraid to go to those weird places, but I think his career post 2012, so like he had a I love his first like few movies: Boogie Nights, Magnolia, Punch Drunk Love, There Will Be Blood, The Master. He starts to get kind of weird for me once you get to Inherent Vice, Phantom Thread, um this movie. I really enjoyed it, but I wouldn't say it's my favorite one, and I do find it a lot harder to recommend than a Boogie Nights, than a There Will Be Blood. I mean, I don't know. It might be one of those ones where it ages like fine wine for me. I thought it was a great movie. Out of all the movies we've seen, for Flicks and Flops, do I think it's the best? Probably, or my favorite rather. Probably not. But as like I mean, from a filmmaking perspective, this movie hit all the notes. It was fucking unbelievable. But from like I guess enjoyment standards slash if I wanted to personally review the depth, I mean, not top 10, and it's hard, like you said, hard to recommend. So truly, if you're willing to try an out there movie, I'd go for it. I thought it was a solid movie, but not his greatest piece of work, and you know, but it's one of those ones where I think from years to come, I might have more of an appreciation for it. But I don't know. It's one of those ones that sits with you, and believe me, I don't even know if we could describe everything that happened in this movie because it was insane.
I mean, there's just so much that goes on, and a lot of the symbolism is really cool in it. But and I think
Hmm.
you're right. Like, this is something that it should be shown in like film classes to be like, if you want to be a director or you want to be like you want to make films,
Hmm.
watch this movie because it's a great source of inspiration with how things are done. But in terms of just an average viewer trying to watch it, it's if you're not a big film person, I don't know if you'd like this movie. You have to really have a love of cinema to like sit down and watch this movie and be like, I really like that, because there were at points there were times when, especially in the whole scene where Willa is stuck at like the with all of the other mercenaries,
Yeah.
that I was like, how much longer is left in this movie?
Hmm.
And I that's the worst kind of feeling to have in a movie for me, is if I'm sitting down and I'm like looking at my watch, I'm like, how much more do we have to go? Like, it's funny because I could sit down and watch something like Lord of the Rings, the extended editions that are like 4.5 hours, like, and I'm never like, how much longer? I don't look at my phone like that.
Yeah.
I'm like enthralled. But for this, it's just there were a few points where I'm like, is it almost over? Like, it felt like there was almost like three different endings to the movie. You know what I mean? It's like
Hmm.
when Willa embraces Leonardo DiCaprio, that could have been an ending, even though I don't like the way they did that. Then they have the other ending where it's like, oh hey, look, everything is super fine and happy. Willa's a revolutionary, anti-government anarchist, and then you got Leonardo DiCaprio having fun, taking selfies. Another could have been ending. And then you have the whole like, okay, it's Colonel Lockjaw meeting with the Christmas Adventures Club, and then that's like the official ending to that. And it's like, I felt like that just went on a bit too long. It's like, pick one and make the rest kind of ambiguous. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it would have been really cool to do something where it's like they have a great scene where Colonel Lockjaw is like storming off. His face is all bloodied. He's coming off like walking away from an explosion, and he's got the machine gun strapped to him. That would have been a great spot to just leave him and be like, you don't need to know what he's going to do next, because it's better for it to be like, it's up to your interpretation of what you want to believe.
Hmm.
So I would have liked that. I just feel like there was too much tonality shifts in the movie in spots that didn't work and just fought amongst itself, that like, I want to like it, but I'm more of like, it's kind of just okay.
I concur. I yeah. I it was interesting. Definitely kind of one of the first of its kind as far as an out there movie for flicks and flops, but most certainly a flick, not a flop for sure. But probably out of our flicks, potentially as far as our personal enjoyment. I mean, let's not, I don't want to get the film guys to come kill us. We're just a couple of chunguses reviewing movies on the internet. But I mean, I'd say probably one of the weaker flicks so far, but I'm interested to see where you and I kind of differ and also compare on a type of movie like this, because we didn't know what to expect going into it, and it was something, that's for sure. I mean, we've had a pretty good chain of flicks so far, so I don't know, we might be overdue for a flop. God help me, but
It's probably coming around Halloween time. I can already feel it.
yeah, I think so too. So overall, I'd recommend it, but not for everyone.
All right, but that'll do it for this episode of Flicks and Flops. And catch us next time when we're going to be trying to do something for Halloween. So be excited for the spooky season.